For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber. Instant analysis of Day 3 of the Todd McNair versus the NCAA trial, brought to you by Platinum Storage. So today we thought we would have some progress. We thought we'd at least be able to hear the opening statements. It seemed optimistic that they would be able to get it going this afternoon, but I think the optimism was a little incorrect. It seems like the jury process is taking longer than expected, so it looks like right now they're going to try and finish that up today, this afternoon, Friday afternoon, and then with a fresh start, get started with opening statements Monday morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little surprising because they finished up with their 12 regular panel of jurors yesterday. So, you know, I mean, the original thought was that Judge Schaller had some things to get finished in the morning and they would get started at 10 o'clock. And they were hopeful, like, by 11 that they would have the 4 alternates selected, take lunch, set up for the afternoon. You set up your camera as the official pool photographer. And by 1:30, they would do the opening statements. Well, as it turns out, they took breaks, and we didn't see any obvious resolution. And sometime after, I guess it was more like between 12:05 and 12:10, they come out and say, we don't have a jury, and it's going to go into the afternoon. And what they didn't want to do is try to finish up the juror selection in the afternoon and then do the opening statements. I mean, there's not nearly as much that goes on in the courthouse on Friday afternoon. And one of the last things you would do probably is start the trial, the opening statements in the afternoon. So they're going to go bright and early, 9 o'clock Monday morning, opening statements, and you can just tell by watching them, coming and going and all this stuff. They're, rolling in the bag, all the, documents and information and what have you. They're ready to go. And, but they didn't rush the jury selection at all. So this means a lot.
Yeah. I was going to say, we are actually sitting outside the courtroom for this process just because the courtroom is so small, this specific courtroom, that the jurors have to sit where we would normally sit. And you can kind of see the people going in and out, and they look like they're ready to get it going. You kind of hear some complaints to get it going. So what do you think the mood is so far for everyone involved?
Well, they seem, kind of the way they, when we see them coming and going, they just seem like ready to go. As someone who got into the courtroom before even the jurors today, Judge Schaller, we were sitting there on the bench with the jurors before they got called, and the bailiff comes out and says, Daniel Weber? So Daniel Weber gets up and goes into the court, and as it turns out, Judge Schaller is reading Thursday's Ghost Notes. And he just wanted to make sure that you're not allowed to talk to any current jurors. For example, the USC backpack guy who was dismissed, he can talk if he wants. He doesn't have to talk, whatever. That's okay. But I think there was one maybe, jurors tend to say things. I mean, it's so compact. Everybody's sitting in the same area on the same benches. So wanted to make sure that you can't say anything that they can even overhear. Yeah. So we can't talk about the trial or about our coverage or almost anything if the jurors are there, because you don't know what they're going to take out of it. How much do they know about it? How much don't they know? So you have to be real careful. And he was good. I thought he said, I don't want to interfere with how your ability to cover the trial and all that. So that was good. But he did ask specifically, did you talk to any jurors? And I said, luckily I could say, absolutely not. I did not talk to any jurors. I may have heard what somebody said, they said, but did not talk to them. He said, it's good. That's what we want to just make sure, and that they can't hear you. And so it was interesting to go into the court, and the judge is at his, what do they call that?
Shoot, I'm forgetting.
But he's got the Ghost Notes, and he's reading them. And so So it was an interesting moment when you're up there talking to the judge.
Did you feel like you were called into the principal's office?
A little bit, although he's really got a good way about him, Judge Schaller. He's really a comfortable. He just wanted to double check and said, you do know you can't talk to any jurors. And I said, yeah. I said, absolutely. I absolutely do not, was not going to, do not want to. And I may not know all the rules exactly, but I knew that you can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's where it was. But Ghost Notes, Ghost Notes made it onto the judge's desk, or whatever you want to call that, where the judge sits. And so then I got to go out, and then the jury came in.
Well, yeah, so that's basically the latest update coming from the court. We just wanted to give you guys the latest. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up, before we will actually be able to bring you real information from the trial on Monday?
It's getting backed up a little bit, but a Monday start, I think, makes so much more sense. A Monday morning start rather than going Friday afternoon. So I think we're very much in favor. Even if for people who are thinking, okay, is it going to go past? I know Judge Schaller has a sort of a Mother's Day deadline that he wanted it to be finished by, and other people might have other deadlines. Maybe that 3 weeks. I don't think we know how this is going to go. I would guess maybe is this a tip-off that much of this will maybe take longer than they planned. That because of the nature, and it's such a big deal for everybody involved, that maybe it will take longer to get through everything than the 3-week plan. I don't know if that's the case or not, but just a hunch. Because honestly, I think they really thought that they would have a jury this morning.
Yeah.
There's no question.
It sounded like it.
And they don't.
Yeah. So in your opinion, based on what you're seeing, how long do you think this will actually take? I know you can't really predict, but based on what we're seeing so far.
I'm still going to go with the 3 weeks, but I think the original estimate was 2 weeks, and then I think once they planned out the witness list and all of that, I think they even got it down to the expected Todd McNair testimony expected 7 hours, for example.
Wow.
So I think they do game plan this fairly specifically, but again. What the game plan was for the jury isn't exactly where it went, and that's probably a good thing. It probably means, that they're not rushing through anything, that they're not, conceding anything, and that they're really making it, work the way it should work. I'm pretty impressed with how serious everything is in terms of the PR people, Liz Martinez, how hard they're working to make it, the ability for us to do what we're doing, and I thought Judge Schaller today was really good in terms of don't want to interfere with your ability to report and all that. So the quarters are a little tight. We're at the end of the 5th floor, and one of the in a relatively small courtroom. I think it's where he usually where all his cases are, and his chambers and all that, and all his employees are right in that area. So I think it would be a big hassle to move it to a bigger courtroom, but they're really they're very tight quarters. Yesterday when they were trying to move a big screen TV in, it was like, well, I don't know, we can move it in, where are we going to keep it? They ended up, 2 of them showed up, and they knew they couldn't get 2 of them in. And so they decided, both attorneys will use the same one. But they are, that's probably the biggest negative about the trial is the courtroom. Is just you're going to have to plan exactly like your tripod and all that stuff. How many places did they consider where you would go yesterday to try to? You don't want to show the jury. You don't want to. Be in the way. You don't want to be in the fire. You don't. It was. So there are those issues, and I think they're taking them really seriously.
Yeah. In that sense, as far as courtroom size, I know USC fans might want to come down and see it. What do you suggest as far as that goes?
That's a good question. I'd say, I'd say there's no guarantee you're going to get in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be the biggest negative. It's just because when both, there are a fairly, large number of attorneys and jury consultants, and they had to plan out who was going to be at the tables and who was not, and those people have to have places to sit, and they've got a whole first row that nobody's allowed to sit in. We think that's because of a fire situation that they've got to keep that aisle open, which only leaves two rows.
Yeah.
And
I will be taking up a portion of it because I'll be filming. So.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want to discourage anybody, but I wouldn't want to encourage you either. At this point. I think it's going to be a tough deal. I mean, so far there haven't been a lot of media show up, but I have a feeling that's going to build.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it might be really tough to get into the courtroom.
For sure. All right, that's going to wrap it up from downtown LA. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.